Well, Vanguard is at it again. If you're a Vanguard client, you've probably received the same email I did that said, hey, we're going to start charging a bunch of new fees. And it's gotten the internet talking. In fact, I was looking at this Bogleheads forum posting that was just put up yesterday morning. We're already up to 7 pages of comments. One person actually asked if Vanguard was going to start charging us a fee when we sneeze. I don't think it's quite that bad, but what I thought I'd do in today's video is walk through the new fees, try to put them in some context, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then at the end I'll sort of give you my take on what I think is going on, and honestly, something that I think Vanguard is doing. They've gotten something completely wrong. It's not actually about the specific fees, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. As we go through the fees, I would suggest we keep a couple of things in mind. One, we need to ask ourselves if we're current Vanguard clients or if we're thinking about opening an account at Vanguard. Will the fee really affect me? Is it a one-time fee or ongoing? What do other brokers do? Because maybe this is sort of consistent with what the industry does and Vanguard's just catching up now. So to kind of put those things in context. With that said, let's check out the email. This is, I'm sure you got one if you're a Vanguard client. This is the email that I received. And I think the one fee that's got folks talking a lot is this account closure fee. And let me make this a little bigger for you if I can. There we go. This account closure fee, we'll talk about that in a minute. There's actually, I think, in many cases, a way to avoid that. But we'll just start at the top. And this one is actually the one that troubles me the most. And it's a broker-assisted commission fee. So it's $25 each time you want to basically call up and speak to someone and get help purchasing either, or actually selling, trading, a Vanguard mutual fund or Vanguard ETF. Now, keep in mind, they already had these fees if you were at Vanguard and you wanted help buying a Fidelity fund on the Vanguard platform or some other fund. But now what they're saying is we're going to also charge you a fee if you want to buy our own mutual funds and ETFs and you need help doing it. Now, again, let's keep it in perspective. If you're like me and you do pretty much everything online, you go in and you execute your own purchase, say, or sale of a ETF or mutual fund, you don't pay this fee at Vanguard. But if you need to call up and talk to someone, you do. Again, one can understand charging a fee because it costs a lot of money to have a team of representatives, standing by on the phone or after a 10-minute hold, whatever, and helping folks. At the same time, my concern is this fee is going to hurt the people who can least afford to pay it. And I have in mind older folks, maybe even like myself or older, maybe in retirement, maybe not comfortable buying and selling mutual funds and ETFs online and want a little help, particularly if they don't have a lot of money, because as we'll see, some of these fees get waived if you have a lot of money at Vanguard. But what if you don't? Well, you're the one that needs the most help, can least afford to pay the fee, and you're going to be the one stuck paying it. So in that sense, I'm not particularly happy with this fee. And if you're retired and maybe you're doing regular trades to pull money out for retirement, it'd be fine if you got charged this fee once every couple of years or something. But if you're needing help on a regular basis, unfortunately, you're going to get hit with this fee every single time. And so in that sense, this fee perhaps troubles me more than any other. So that's the first one. The second one, I'm going to guess, is going to apply to virtually nobody, although I'm sure there's someone out there and I'll get an email about it, and that's fine. But if you have deposit a physical share certificate, I'm trying to think of the last time I had an actual physical share certificate. I can't think of if I've ever had one. So maybe some of you do, and so this could be an issue. But for most people, I think this fee, probably not a big deal. This one, I think, I got a lot of, by the way, I've gotten dozens of emails about these fees. Folks have been asking me about this class action service fee of 20%. What in the world is going on? So you may have received class action notices before, and I defended class actions when I practiced law. And it's where, there are cases where there could be a large number of plaintiffs and they all have similar circumstances. And so there's actually a federal rule of civil procedure that says, hey, we can do this class action where a bunch of plaintiffs will come together, could be thousands, right, in one lawsuit rather than filing thousands and thousands of individual lawsuits. And one form of class action deals with securities fraud. So if a company doesn't account for their revenue or their expenses properly, and a class action's filed, and you happen to be a shareholder, then you could become a member of that class, and you've probably received those notifications. You actually have to take, usually, affirmative steps to opt out. If there's a settlement, you may have to provide some information to make sure you're actually part of the class. Usually has to deal with when you either bought or sold a security. Anyway, Vanguard offers a service where they'll sort of do that paperwork for you, and if you want to take advantage of that, well, their fee is going to 20%. That's what this is about. Now, I will tell you, if we go back here, this is their agreement, and in fact, you actually can see a link to it if you got this email right down here. And they have this whole section on this class action service. The one thing I will tell you is, and I'll make this a little bigger for you, you can opt out of this service if you want to. That's probably what I would do, because filling out the paperwork is not that difficult. Why would I give Vanguard 20% of anything I might receive? I can't recall actually ever receiving anything, but if I ever did, why would I give 20% to Vanguard for paperwork that doesn't take that long to fill out? But that's the point. You can avoid that fee if you want, just by opting out of that service. I did have this, I think, an amusing thought. Would they apply this to any class action lawsuits against Vanguard that resulted in a settlement? Probably not. Okay, next one. Foreign securities and ADRs, American Depositary Receipts. These are ways in which you can invest in foreign securities. ADRs, if you think about trying to invest in a foreign security, you could go and trade on a foreign stock exchange. And if you're Warren Buffett, that's probably what you do. But for regular folk, probably not. And ADRs are a way to invest in foreign companies in the U.S. Exchanges. They're traded in U.S. currency, but there are fees associated with them. And Vanguard's indicated we're going to actually charge 1% of the gross dividend amount on foreign securities and ADRs. Now, I'm going to guess that most of you, and this would be true for me, I don't own any of these, right? I have exposure to foreign stocks, but it's through ETFs and mutual funds like Vanguard's VXUS, and of course I pay a fee for that. It's very, very low, their expense ratio. But again, I'm going to guess most people don't have to worry about that fee. That's what it is. Some of you might, and it might be a big deal. So there you go. Restricted security legend removal fee, $250 processing fee. What in the world are restricted stocks? So you can put a legend on the stock certificate. Of course, it's done electronically now. That would prevent the transfer of the stock, meaning you couldn't sell it. And if you're an employee, maybe you've received restricted stock where you have to hold on to it for a certain period of time. I actually had a lawsuit where I represented a company that was entitled to some stock. And the company, I actually went to Buffalo and argued a motion in federal court there, and we won. But what they refused to do, they transferred the stock, but they refused to remove the restriction. So there was a big lawsuit over that. Anyway, it can be an issue, and depending on your situation, you may own restricted stock. I will tell you that other brokers charge this too. So if you're thinking if this is a big issue for you and you're currently at Vanguard, before you run off somewhere else to try to avoid that fee, you want to make sure you understand what the other brokers' fees are. I've actually looked up just quickly this morning and saw that there were some other brokers that charge the same $250 processing fee. Again, there may be some that don't. I'm not sure what Fidelity and Schwab do. Again, for most people, probably not a big deal, but it might be for you. The last one really gets folks fired up. You want to leave Vanguard, you want to transfer an account, there's a $100 processing fee. Now, let's talk about that. First of all, they're not the only brokers to charge this. A lot of brokers do. That's number one. Number two, of course, it's only going to apply if you want to leave Vanguard. If you're happy at Vanguard, you don't have any plans to leave, no big deal. I will say that these fees don't kick in until June, I guess. Is it July? June or July? I guess it's June. I thought it was, no, July 1. These fees kick in July 1 of this year. I do think it might encourage people to leave Vanguard sooner if they were already planning to leave anyway. It's like, well, let's get this done now. I will say that you might be able to get the broker you're going to pay the fee for you. That's very common. I looked up Fidelity's just out of curiosity. They will pay that fee if you're transferring an account with at least $25,000 in it, which brings me back to the point I made at the start regarding the fee for buying Vanguard mutual funds and ETFs. These fees tend to hurt the people that can afford them the least, the folks that maybe don't have a lot of money, relatively speaking. And that bothers me. Nothing I guess can do about it. It's just the reality, but it kind of disappoints me with Vanguard because they're sort of known and have built their business on the reputation of being a low fee company, and that's obviously changing. But all of that said, you might be able to get the broker you're going to pay for the fee. In fact, if you've got a lot of money, think six figures, certainly if you have 7 or 8 figures, you'll get brokers to pay you a lot of money to transfer your accounts from Vanguard to, say, a Fidelity or Schwab. You'll get bonuses of thousands of dollars depending on how much you have. You just need to call them up and talk to them about it. So those are the fee structures that are going into effect July 1. So my general take on this, and the big mistake that I think Vanguard is making, is for a while now, it seems like everything we hear from Vanguard is we're either removing features or services or we're increasing fees. As we know, they just sold a lot of their small business retirement plans. Those are going to be transferred out. They changed how the representatives that can be assigned to you or your account. They made significant changes to that in the last year that really make it even less pleasant than it was before, where you no longer have a dedicated representative, something that a Fidelity or Schwab would do. And that, by the way, is true even if they're what they call their flagship client, which used to mean something. Today, I don't think it means as much. And then now you add fees, right? All of this is happening. And I ask you, what new services or features or great website user experience or mobile app user experience have they added? Not much at all. In fact, they've been taking on the cash management side, they did add a new savings option. I guess that's something, but they've taken away a lot of cash management features over the years. So it seems to be every announcement coming out of Vanguard is either removing features or services, making them less desirable, or adding fees. I don't know. Someone over in the PR department of Vanguard needs to tell management, hey, how about some good news, please? Why don't we talk about what we're going to do for our customers rather than what we're going to charge them or what we're going to take away? I know that probably sounds harsh, but that's just how I feel right now. I've used a lot of different brokers over the years. I'm a big proponent of Jack Bogle's philosophy, the Bogleheads, Vanguard's what used to be low-cost perspective. They certainly are still low-cost with their index funds. That hasn't changed, and that's good. But in terms of actually having your accounts at Vanguard, frankly, it's becoming less and less appealing by the day. Having said all of that, if you're perfectly happy at Vanguard, absolutely no reason to change, but I would recommend that you check out these fees, check out that email, understand how they're going to apply to you. And before you move to another broker, if that's what you decide to do, well, make sure you understand their fees as well. So there you go. That's what's going on at Vanguard and their new fees, my take on it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to help you out any way I can. And until next time, remember, the best thing money can buy is financial freedom.